Hello Year 9. Right, so in the next unit you are going to be doing a big project looking at lots of different software skills and bringing them together to try and keep track of a larger project. So rather than a web design project or a programming project, it's a big project that pulls together lots of different tools. Okay, and the central bit is going to be about using Google SketchUp to design a house. So that's what we're going to do. So what you need to do, all you need is a web browser. You don't need any specialist software. Chrome works best. So if you go into Google Chrome and search for Edu SketchUp, and the Edu is very important because there are two versions, and if you don't click on the educational version, you're going to have some trouble getting in. Okay. When you click on it, you'll get this loading screen, and then you'll get a pop-up after a few seconds asking you to log in. Be patient, it might take a little while to load, and when it does, it'll ask you to either log in using a Gmail account or a Microsoft account, and you need to click Microsoft account because that's how we do all of our online accounts, and then it might just let you sign in from there. It might ask you for your school email address, so it's your username at egglescliffe.org.uk and your password. And then once you've done that, then you're in, and you just click Start Modelling here, and you'll be straight into SketchUp. And once you're into SketchUp, what you'll see is a person here who's there really for scale, so you can see how big or small your drawings are. And you get these three lines. Because it's a 3D program, and it's being drawn on a 2D screen, we need three lines to help you work out which direction things are going in. So green and red are flat on the floor at 90 degrees to each other, and blue is always straight up, and that becomes important later on. Okay, so toolbars over here on the left, and I'm going to start with the tools at the bottom, which are to do with what you can see. Okay, we can use the hand to move the camera around a little bit. We can use the orbit tool, which is the one with the arrows around the stick, to spin around. The person kind of follows us, it's a little bit creepy, but you can see the lines moving, and that's a really useful tool that we use a lot. And the other one that we need right now is the zoom tool, and if you click and drag up, you zoom in, and if you click and drag down, you zoom out. If your mouse is inverted or using a trackpad, that might be inverted, but you'll figure it out. If you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, or you have a laptop with a middle button, then you can also click that and zoom in and out that way, which is a little bit easier, I think, but whatever works for you is absolutely fine. And then we're going to have a look at how we start to draw a building. So today we're going to draw a really simple building, and what you'll need to do is you'll need to pause the video every now and again, have a go. If it goes wrong, you can always just undo with Ctrl-Z. If you get stuck, just rewind and watch that bit again, but don't just watch the video all the way through and expect to remember it, because that's not going to work. Okay, so the rectangle tool is this one here with the line through. It's a bit confusing because that one is made of two rectangles joined together, but ignore that for now. So a simple rectangle tool here, and choose that one, and I'm going to draw the rectangle on the floor, and I'm going to draw it around my person. There we go. And that is roughly, I think, going to be the size of a very small house. It's going to be a very small house, but that's okay. We want nice and simple. And again, we can use the orbit tool to have a look around and check that it looks okay. If it doesn't, just delete it, Ctrl-Z will undo, and then have a go. And the next thing we need to do is, straight underneath that is the pull tool. And what the pull tool will let us do is, can you see how that changes there? The dots appear as I move the mouse over it. So that's what I'm going to pull. If I pull that up, we get a house, which is pretty cool. And again, you can spin around and check that you're happy. What we need now, it's a bit boxy, we need a roof really. And the easiest way to do the roof is to use the pencil. And as you move along here, I'm not clicking, I'm just moving the mouse. It moves along, moves along, moves along, and then it snaps to the midpoint. So that's the middle of that line, between that corner and that corner. That's the middle. And then click and drag it to this midpoint as well. Now, because I've drawn the building square, the line goes green because it's in line with that green line on the floor, which means I know it's dead flat, which is really useful. So once I've drawn that line, the next thing to do is use the move tool here to lift it up. Now again, be careful, I don't want to move all of this up, and I don't want to move all of this up, I just want to move the line itself. And if I click and drag, then it goes straight up. And if you have trouble with it, if it doesn't want to move, then just click on the orbit tool and swing around and try it from a different angle. And then once you've pulled it up, that looks a bit more house shaped to me. So that's pretty good. Still looks a little bit plain. So the next thing we need to add to the house is some windows and doors. So we'll just go rectangle again, and I'll draw a couple of windows on here. I'm not going to worry too much about making them precise. Just pop them in, and then I could spin around and do it on the back. I'll let you do that in your own time. And it looks a bit more like a house, but very white, very plain, not very realistic yet because of the colours, I think. So what I'll do is, over here we've got a paint bucket tool. And if I click the paint bucket tool, over here it pops out with a colour palette. So I can paint my house red, like that, or I can paint it brown, like that. Again, it's not very realistic. So this button over here gives me lots of different textures. Now that might take a minute to load. The first time I made this video it took ages to load, and I rage quit and stopped it and started again. So it might take a minute to load, be patient. So go for brick, and you see the different brick patterns here. I'm going to paint my wall in brick coloured, so it looks like an actual house. For the roof, there's a section called roofing, so I can paint my roof tiles as though they're like tiles. And then my favourite one is, somewhere in here we've got, I can't find it now, glass and mirrors. That's what I'm looking for, glass and mirrors. Anything with a diagonal line through is see-through. So if I click that one there and paint the windows, then actually as I spin around you can actually see through the windows into the house, and you can see my person for scale. The house is maybe a little bit big for quite a simple house actually in the end. There isn't really a door colour, but you could colour it in, you could leave it white like a kind of a UPVC door. You could go down to find wood. I think there's a wood, yes there is. So you could paint the door in kind of wood coloured. Not sure that entirely works, but you can try different colours for yourself and see what does. And there I've got a house. I think it's not perfect. We're going to leave the inside because doing the inside is quite complicated, and I haven't coloured the back in yet, but we won't mention that. So that's a house. So hopefully by now you've stopped the video a couple of times to try these things. If you haven't, definitely stop now and get a basic house built. I'm going to go on and show you how to maybe do a garden with a fence and things like that. So next job then is the garden. So I'm going to draw out the garden. Now here's the problem, can you see that's red? That means that's going to be up like a wall. If I spin round now, it's drawn it, can you see how it's done like that? That's definitely not the floor. So Control Z will undo and delete it. Have another go. Maybe try from a different angle. Blue's good. So there is my garden, nice big garden. And we'll colour it in grass coloured. Is it vegetation? No. They change the names every now and again. Landscaping, fencing and vegetation, there we go. So I'll colour the grass in grass coloured. There we go, and if you zoom in you can see it is kind of grass coloured. I'm a little bit zoomed out there for it to work too well. And what I can do, I can draw a path. So I can just use the pencil again, or I could use the rectangle tool to draw a path. I might do a slightly zigzag path to the edge of the house, the edge of the property. Like that. And then once I've done that, I can colour that in, go back to the paint bucket and paint it kind of stone coloured. So in landscaping there's different coloured stones. So there we go, I've got a little path. I could do a fence or a hedge. Now this is a bit tricky to do a fence or a hedge. So if I go from this corner and put a fence post in straight up. Now that's quite a long fence post, but that's okay. And then do another one here, straight up. It will actually jump to the same height. And if you can see that faint green line there, but it did jump to the right height. If it doesn't, it's okay. But then join that in and we get a fence. If I do the same thing here, again straight up, so be careful it doesn't follow that line. Blue for straight up. If it doesn't work, try from a different angle. And again it will try to jump to the right height. So see the dotted lines there? I think that's the top of the window, that height. That's definitely too high. So if I go down a bit, it doesn't want to jump to the right height. So I'll make it too tall. Like way too tall, but that's okay, because what I can do then is from here, red means it's parallel with the floor, so it's nice and even, and that's going to join up, that's okay. And then I can just use the arrow tool to select that top bit and delete it with the delete key. We'll move sideways a little bit. Now if you're struggling with this, don't worry, it does take a bit of practice. I've had many years of doing this lesson, as I'm sure you can well believe. Let's jump to the right height. It does take a bit of practice, So if it doesn't work the first time, don't panic, just keep going. If it goes horribly wrong, just undo straight away. The longer you leave it, the more of a faff on it is. And this lesson is just about practicing, okay? Now here, something weird's going to happen, because it's going to realise I've filled in this wall here and fill that in, but it's also going to realise I've filled in a kind of box lid for the whole fence and fill that in like that. Don't panic. All you do is use the arrow, the select tool, click on the lid, press delete, and the lid goes away again. And there's my fence. And I can colour that in fence coloured. Like this. You've got to do both sides, inside and out, because it's a two-sided shape. So if I spin round to the back of the house, I know I haven't done the back of the house yet, but you can see it's only done the inside, or whichever side of the fence was facing me pretty much. So I'll do the other sides as well. So we get the fence. I think I've missed the back of that fence over there, but that'll do. Now obviously I've blocked off my path here. So again, what I can do, if I spin around and zoom in a bit, is use the pencil tool to go from the end of the path up to the top. Remember, blue is straight up, and you learn to look for those colours. Those colours become really important. There we go. So I've taken that out, and I can just click on the panel and delete it. I can also click on the line across the top and delete that. And I've got a gap in the fence. I could even, and this is quite clever, using the arc tool, if I click on the edge of that bit of fence there and the edge of that bit of fence there, it will draw an arc. Now that's not quite what I was after, because we can see that's gone too far. So I'll just press escape and start again, see if there's a different option that I need. Let's try the second one, see if the second one's any better. So just click on the first bit, click on the second bit, and there we go, that's what I was after. And I can make a little archway that you can walk through, and I could colour that in like a gate. There's gate colour. I'm not sure that entirely works actually. Let's make it that kind of gate. Doesn't work either. So just have a go, see what works and what doesn't. And again, this lesson is just about practicing. This isn't your finished piece of work. It's just to give you an idea. So that hasn't worked perfectly, but I've got a gate, I've got my fence. Last thing I'll do, again, hopefully you've paused it and had a look so far, but the last thing I'll do then in this lesson is I'm going to add a swimming pool, and the swimming pool is really cool. So start by drawing the shape of my swimming pool on the floor. I'll start with a simple rectangle. You might do something a bit more fancy if you want to, and I'll look for stone for the inside of my swimming pool. So there's my swimming pool, right. Now the next tool is, now let's see if they've moved it. I don't think it's that one. I think they've moved this tool. That's there, that one there. It's kind of two semicircles together. And what this will let me do is, if I click and drag, it copies the shape exactly. And I can make it bigger and smaller. So if you've drawn a really fancy shape for your swimming pool, you can just make it bigger or smaller like that. Okay, so I've got the outer edge of my swimming pool and the inner edge. And then by going back to the push-pull tool again, which is that one, I can lift the outside up a little bit, like that, so the water doesn't spill out, and I can push the middle down, like that. So it's quite a deep swimming pool, that one. And then, and this is the clever bit, if you hold down, hang on, now I don't know if this works on the web version, it might not do. Oop. I've just done sticky keys on my computer accidentally. Oh, there we go. If you hold Control and drag, you see there's a little plus has appeared on my icon. That's making a copy of the floor. Right, now just to show you what I'm talking about, if I now go to water and go for a see-through water, can you see there's still a bottom? Because when I've used the pull tool, I'm just moving the floor now, but if you hold the Control key while you do it, it copies the floor. I'm going to undo because there's now two sets of water. It's confusing. So if you copy the floor, I'll do all that again. I know you can replay the video, but I've got drawn my floor out and made it stone. I've used the offset tool, it's called, to copy the shape on the inside, and then I lift the middle up, so lift the outer up a little bit, push the middle down, and then hold the Control key on the keyboard. I get the plus sign. I can lift the floor up, colour it in like water, especially the water with a diagonal through, because that means it's see-through, and you've got your pool. And then you could go and add a few steps. So if I draw a little rectangle out here and colour that into the same type of stone, and then just use the pencil to divide it up into a few different steps. Again, it'll snap to the midpoint each time, which is quite nice, help keep it even. And then use the pull tool and pull each one up a bit, a little bit less, a little bit less. It's not quite even. Might be easier if I zoom in a little bit. But then you can make some steps up to the side of the pool as well. You could put a fence around it, you can do funny shaped pools, and that's how you use SketchUp. So for your first lesson, your job is to have a go at making your own, just really simple for now, he says, with his own swimming pool, just a really simple house. Start with the rectangle, the pull tool, do the roof, maybe have a go at a little garden, look at some of the different ideas for some of the textures. If you've got other ideas, give them a go, but this is just a practice. The real one will come a bit later on, but for now it's just a practice. Have a go. Don't forget you can take a screenshot, send it to your teacher so they can give you some feedback as well. So have fun, good luck and enjoy it.